Part of my job as a vocal professional is motivating the people to whom I know singing really matters. Now, these aren't necessarily students who come for one-to-one coaching. Well, of course, they're involved as well, but I'm also talking about people of my acquaintance that I may have known for in excess of 10 years, who are still singing, who are still on their journey, but I feel as though it's my job, it's part of the importance of the message that I'm trying to put out there about singing in general, is that I need to motivate them. And I motivate them in a number of ways. And today, the midweek point, the day of creating this vlog for my channel on YouTube, to which you can subscribe, by the way, I try to mix it up a little bit. I've done some fairly deep and soul-searching vlogs so far. There are some in there that are more instructional and useful to people who are finding me on the internet to know what to do about their singing. And then I've taken a slightly different tack, and today I'm talking about using a blog that I've just reblogged, and it's entitled Motivation, and that got me thinking about what I might want to say in a vlog post. So I've jotted down some sort of notes, I've got them right here. Motivation, well, I suppose you've got to have that initial spark, and in my post that I reblogged today, it's a fairly nostalgic look back at a conversation I had with my son in 2012. Music, he's a very different musician to me, but music is his world. It didn't start out that way because he actually did a degree in acting, and I'm sure he'll say that's the wrong title, but basically in theatre, and which he did get, but actually he was bitten by the music bug in a very different way to me, but still the spark, the initial spark for his inspiration and motivation to learn about playing the guitar, and now he teaches it and he runs his own band in Bristol. They're called the Rintins. You should look them up, they're very good. The motivation, the spark, was the same for both of us, and I think that most people who are still on their vocal journey have experienced that spark, and I mentioned that here in my notes. So this initial spark, and then there becomes a need to know, and from my own perspective, I need to know more about singing well. Okay, now that's from a personal perspective, so that means that I'm very self-critical of my actual singing voice. And this week I have a concert on Friday, and I'll show you in a minute how I will motivate myself later on this afternoon to go through the programme. But I have a basic need to know, and I think that most people who I've recently come across at the course that I led at Dartington early March were that these people also have this kind of curiosity and a need to know, and that actually brings me very nicely onto my next word that I put down here, which is curiosity. There's a lady in my group, and I know she won't mind me mentioning her name. Her name is Lynn Edwards, and she's been sitting on the fence, and I've written a blog post about her as well, about learning how to sing because she was not sure whether or not she could sing. And she's just at that point. She's now been for a one-to-one lesson with me, and I think she's got that bug. I'm pretty certain it's there, the spark, the curiosity. Yep, she can tick all those boxes. And then I think some part of it, this journey, has to kind of speak to your soul. It becomes, in time, it becomes a need that you can't ignore. Some people come into the singing world and they don't stick around for very long because actually it's a very personal thing, finding your voice, getting to like it, feeling confident about using it, and that's really, I think, over all the years of teaching, that's where I get the most enjoyment and fulfillment, is fostering that kind of encouraging, that's the word I'm looking for, encouraging that kind of commitment to the singing thing, because if it speaks to your soul every time you open your mouth to sing, whether it's in a group or in a lesson or just humming around the house or enjoying a song that you're listening to, it's gonna give you a tremendous boost, a lift. And that, of course, is scientifically proven to be the case, that it releases endorphins. And I've been talking about that this week in my Company of Singers group on Facebook, which you can join because it's a free group. You could join that group if you wished. So I've mentioned the fact that, you know, in order to feel good, I think it was Monday start of the week, so I gave a little kind of boost at the end of their first day back and said, you know, sing something because it's going to boost your spirits. So the danger of recording frequently and forgetting to delete what you recorded last week means that your card becomes full and then you have to start all over. So continuing where I left off, I think I was just talking about how some part of this vocal journey, this needing to know, this curiosity, has to speak to your soul. And in the blog post about motivation that I reblogged this morning, that's really what that blog post is about. And I'll put the link below this video so you can read it. It's an interesting thing, and I certainly do feel that from all the people who came along to the Love Your Voice course at Dartington Hall in last month, that was really the common denominator for most of the people, was that they were returning to something that they had been missing, and now I believe that they have no intention of letting that go again, and that's fantastic. I guess because if it speaks to your soul, you're going to make sure that it fits seamlessly into your life. And that's no easy task, because you imagine that if you're going to learn how to sing, you've got to spend endless hours exercising, doing things with your voice. I don't believe that as a teacher. Yes, they are essential, but not for your enjoyment, really, and unless you're on a quest to really improve that vocal sound, where it becomes a different thing, a different beast. But in order to evolve singing into your life seamlessly, if it's speaking to your soul, I think you will do that automatically. That's quite different from, you know, there's no room for being frustrated with your singing voice if you've not actually done the work and gone down that path of the learning how to do it. And for those of you who watched other videos of mine, I believe that I foster the idea that there are 5 essential vocal exercises that you need to have in your toolbox as a singer. And that doesn't mean that these are going to be really difficult exercises, not a bit of it. These are like the building blocks. So that would involve these 5 things. You've got posture, breathing, onset of sound, the moment when your vocal folds actually come together and start to create what we ultimately hear as your sound. Number 4 is a very interesting one, which everyone has have lots of giggles about, and they're lip trills. They are worth their weight in gold. And the 5th one is probably the least favourite of all, I'd say, and the one that brings the most problems is sirening, making a certain sound using an ng, like sing, that thing at the end of that word. If you can master those 5 basic exercises and you can execute them really well at the drop of a hat, you are well on your way to being able to do more things. But at the very beginning of your exploration, or even halfway through your journey, you need to keep touching base with these 5 essential vocal exercises. I mean, there isn't any easy way to do it. You just have to immerse yourself. And getting back to my blog post that I have reblogged today, that's really what it's all about. My son, who, as I explained, had done his degree in theatre, found that music was more enticing to him, and he set about on his own journey. Nobody was teaching him particularly, of finding out, immersing himself in it. And I think that's, as a young girl, that's what I did with my singing. I had no desire to know about the singing technique, or this is when I'm really young. I didn't really need to know about singing technique. I just knew that singing music lit up my world. It just provided me with something that was a joy to have in my life, and it still is. Now, I mentioned, just to wrap this up, that I've got a concert on Friday, and it's in Bath, and again I've talked about that in a previous vlog post, and I'm trying to get some work done this morning. It's a gorgeous, beautiful sunny day out there, and I can see my lovely tree with its blossoms. The blossoms are gradually coming down in the breeze, and it's very pretty and very enticing. But I have some work to do this morning, and then this afternoon I have, out of shot of course is a pile of ironing and an ironing board and an iron, and by the side of it I have my music stand with my music folder on it, and I should be standing ironing very glamorously whilst listening to my repertoire and singing through the songs, going over the words, just reminding myself of all those little pathways and things not to forget, because at this point, with the concert just 2 days away, I am well beyond the point of actually learning. Now what I'm doing is I am revisiting frequently, going over the songs. These are English Elizabethan lute songs, or I should say really not so much Elizabethan. They are songs for the Stuarts, of course, which is just a little bit later. And I have learned the songs. I'm now at the point where I am revisiting them on a daily basis. That lovely blossom. On a daily basis, going over words, thinking about little tiny passages of it, whilst I'm doing something else. So this is not me sitting at the piano over there and spending, half a day singing through the songs. I do it differently. There's just as much value if you don't have much time for singing in your life. Fit it into those little moments when you can perhaps listen, record things, learn songs, find things that interest you, watch vlogs, get involved with a group like a company of singers, and invite singing into your life. All of that you can say under a big umbrella title of motivation. If you're motivated to do all of those things, like my singing this afternoon will be motivating me to do my ironing, which has been sitting there since the weekend, then that's great. And what else can you help for? Just invite it in. Enjoy your singing. Do more. It's a joy. Okay? So until next time, happy singing.